These are not things that pregnant women do. And when you're pregnant, there's not a pillow under your skirt.
I need to ask you about Doria's ingestion of while she was pregnant with Meghan.
Okay, pregnant. You don't drink when you are pregnant.
So, rumors have been floating around for a while now about Meghan Markle and Prince Harry possibly using a surrogate. Most people brushed it off as just another wild theory. But now things just got real. Reports claim that the royal palace has finally come forward with actual proof, suggesting that Meghan and Harry didn't conceive their children naturally. Delivery certificates. And I heard stories early on around the time Archie was allegedly in utero and being born. I heard stories that royal staffers were not allowed to see or touch her abdomen. If that's true, it's raising a ton of questions like how exactly were Archie and Lilibet born? If Meghan didn't carry them, then who did? And where is that woman now? Why has she never come forward? Was she legally silenced or kept hidden for some reason? The idea that a royal physician was not allowed to examine her womb. I mean, I don't.
Sort of an explanation of Meghan just likes to play games with the media, wants to come out on top. And of course, the people who end up suffering the most, I think, are her own children in that.
Just medical practitioners. It's a lot to take in, and honestly, it just makes everything feel even more mysterious. Because if this part of their story was kept under wraps for this long, what else don't we know? When Archie Harrison Mountbatten Windsor was born, people expected Meghan Markle and Prince Harry to follow the usual royal playbook, just like the royals before them. Sort of an explanation of Meghan just likes to play games with the media, wants to come out on top. And of course, the people who end up suffering the most, I think, are her own children in that, smile for the cameras, pose outside the hospital with the newborn, let the world share in the joy. But nope, they went in a completely different direction. And honestly, it just sparked more questions than answers. That's really when the drama began. See, when Meghan first announced her pregnancy, the public was genuinely happy for them. It was supposed to be a feel-good moment. But from the very start, the way Meghan and Harry handled everything was, well, kind of strange, confusing at best, suspicious at worst. Normally, here's how it goes. The palace announces when labor begins, then shares the news once the baby arrives, followed by the iconic photo op, like when Kate Middleton stepped out of the Lindo wing, looking flawless just hours after giving birth. It's a royal tradition. But with Archie, Meghan, and Harry skipped all of that. No labor announcement, no timely update. And get this. They waited over 8 hours after Archie was born to even let the public know he existed. What's more, they released a statement claiming Meghan was in labor even though the baby had already been born. So, why lie? Naturally, that set off alarm bells. People started wondering if it was just a PR fumble or were there more skeletons in the closet. Things took an even stranger turn when Meghan started sharing photos of herself during her so-called pregnancy. At first glance, they seem like your typical maternity shots, but the more people looked, the weirder it All got. In nearly every picture, her baby bump looked completely different. Sometimes high, sometimes low, sometimes oddly shaped. It didn't take long for internet sleuths and eagle-eyed fans to start raising eyebrows. People began to suspect that what she was showing off wasn't a baby bump at all, but possibly a cushion or some sort of fake belly. And those carefully curated photos she posted, many believe they were heavily edited or even photoshopped, all to convince the world that she was actually pregnant and gave birth to her child. But the inconsistencies in those pictures told a very different story. The more you dig, the more it feels like something isn't adding up. And for a couple that stepped away from the royal family for privacy, they sure left behind a trail of very public confusion. I will say that, like a lot of people, I saw the Getty images of the pillow dropping behind the skirt, and I thought at first they could be photoshopped, but Getty Images is very reliable. That's when people really started talking, especially about one rumor that just wouldn't go away. Some believed Meghan didn't actually give birth herself and that a surrogate was used instead. Now, is there solid proof? Not really. But when the timeline feels off and the media keeps getting confusing messages, it's only natural for people to start connecting the dots on their own. The confusion didn't stop with the birth news either. Meghan and Harry didn't show Archie to the public right after he was born like other royals usually do. Instead of stepping outside the hospital for photos, they waited 2 days and had a private photo shoot inside Windsor Castle. Only one reporter was allowed, and the whole thing was carefully planned. There were no genuine moments or public excitement, just a quiet, controlled setup. Maybe they wanted to keep things private, and that's fair. But compared to how Prince William and Kate handled their children's births, with open updates and public appearances, this just felt different. It made Meghan and Harry seem like they were trying to hide something. When trust starts to fade, even small things begin to look suspicious, like Archie's birth certificate. When it finally came out, people noticed it didn't have the usual doctor signatures royal births normally have. Then came another surprise. A few weeks later, Meghan's full name was removed from the document and replaced with only her royal title. That change left people even more confused and raised a lot of new questions. But that wasn't the end of it. Things really started to heat up when voices from inside royal circles began speaking out. Royal author Lady Colin Campbell, known for her no-nonsense opinions, has been one of the loudest critics when it comes to Harry and Meghan's lack of transparency. She didn't hold back, saying, "I think the whole thing stinks to high heaven." Campbell has been urging the couple to stop the guessing game and finally clear the air about the children's births. Meghan has created a situation that has caused people to believe the children were born by surrogacy. Clear it up once and for all. There should be no mystery as to who is legitimately in the line of succession. And then came more voices. This time from Meghan's own estranged family, stirring the pot even further. Her half-sister Samantha Markle recently shared some eyebrow-raising claims during an interview with journalist Dan Wooten. Referring to their father, she said, my father said 9 months before Archie was allegedly born that Meghan picked up her frozen eggs. I thought, that makes sense. There would be a surrogate involved, but why the secrecy? Samantha didn't stop there. She went on to say that if a surrogate was used, it could mean Archie and Lilibet aren't technically in line for the throne, as royal heirs are expected to be born to a titled royal mother. She also voiced her frustration over how everything's been handled, adding, if they used a surrogate, admit it. Instead of lying to the world, just say we're using a surrogate. Things got even more intensified when at first it was said that Meghan planned to give birth at home in Frogmore Cottage. But later reports revealed that Archie was actually born at Portland Hospital in London, which is about 20 miles away. That sudden change and the secrecy around it only deepened the public's suspicion about how everything really went down. To make things even murkier, the official announcement that Meghan was in labor came 7 hours after Archie had already been born. Then in Prince Harry's memoir, Spare, he claimed that they were back at Frogmore Cottage just 2 hours after the birth. That detail raised a lot of eyebrows. As one palace insider pointed out, how many women give birth and are at home in 2 hours? That didn't make sense unless Meghan didn't deliver the child herself. And it wasn't just Archie's birth that sparked speculation. Lilibet's arrival in June 2021 came with just as many questions. She was born at Santa Barbara Cottage Hospital after the couple had settled into their $14 million Montecito home. But even then, the couple kept things extremely private, which only added fuel to the fire. Their reluctance to be open with the public has led to even more theories. Royal author Lady Colin Campbell is now pushing for full transparency, demanding absolute proof that Meghan gave birth to both children. She also clutched her belly at all times, which, of course, have ensured that nobody could touch her stomach or feel what was going on behind the hands that were shielding the bed. So if anybody had all this pressure on the royal palace regarding Prince Harry and Meghan is reportedly putting serious strain on Meghan and Harry's marriage. According to a palace insider, Meghan is furious about the non-stop allegations and is especially upset over Campbell's recent statements. The source added, I can imagine her reaction, venting her anger and frustration over Lady C threatening to sue and blaming Harry for not doing enough to protect their privacy. The source didn't hold back when describing the situation, saying, this scandal will stretch their marriage to the limit. It's already hanging by a thread. What really made things spiral out of control wasn't just the secrecy. It was how Meghan and Harry handled things once the questions started pouring in. Instead of clearing the air or offering any kind of explanation, they seemed to lean into the confusion. The press statements that didn't add up. They never addressed them. The delay in the announcements never explained. Their go-to answer was always the same vague reasoning, privacy. But that word, privacy, didn't calm the public down. If anything, it made people even more curious. Then came the infamous Oprah interview. Meghan trashed them from a great height on Oprah Winfrey and the Netflix series Meghan never directly said there was a conspiracy, but the way she told the story, especially around Archie not receiving a royal title, definitely hinted at something darker going on behind the scenes. She suggested race played a role, implying that Archie was denied a title because of his mixed background. That claim hit hard. It dominated headlines and sent royal watchers into a frenzy. But here's the thing. According to long-standing royal tradition, only the grandchildren of the reigning monarch automatically received titles like prince or princess. At the time, Archie was Queen Elizabeth's great-grandchild, not grandchild. Unless the monarch makes an exception, he wasn't eligible for the title yet. Still, the idea that Archie was excluded because of racism stuck. And Harry and Meghan never stepped in to correct the misunderstanding. They let it linger, knowing full well how explosive that narrative could be. They positioned themselves as victims of an outdated, unfair institution. And maybe that would have landed differently if the lead up to the moment wasn't already packed with strange choices, inconsistencies, and unanswered questions. One more thing that